You know, recently I was invited to a nice restaurant. And it was one of those kind of places that I certainly can't afford to go to. We were celebrating a special occasion with several people. And most of us had never eaten there, so we had no idea what to expect. And the host of the event told us that we were in for a treat. He said it was going to be an incredible meal, but he also said, man, the service would be phenomenal. And as we sit down, the waiter came, and his name was Wendell. That's Wendell there. He asked each of us for our drink order, and then quickly returned with the drinks. In fact, it was crazy, you know. He was like in and out faster than normal. And what was interesting is he never wrote the order down. He remembered every person's drink, all 11 of us. Now, granted, none of us drank alcohol, so you didn't have to figure that out, right? But it was really cool. And then he took the order for the appetizers, and he did the same thing. He disappeared. A few minutes later, he came out and he took our order for dinner. And again, he never used a notepad. He didn't use any kind of an electronic device. I even watched to see if he had a phone in his pocket or something, and he didn't. It was just cool. And everybody had totally different orders. They were really quite complex, and with side orders and salads and the different dressings. And he went around to each person asking several different questions about how they wanted the steak cooked, you know, whether they wanted the rice, the potato, whatever. I mean, it was just unbelievable. He never took one note. Not one. It was remarkable. And as we waited for our appetizers and then our meals, Wendell made sure that when the drink was nearing half full, we're not talking about getting down close, near half full, he would immediately come and fill those drinks. Actually, he didn't fill them. He replaced them with a full drink. And then he would whisk away the other part, the other drink. It was just super awesome. And as he went around, and every steak, by the way, was the amazing thing, okay? Then when he brought the meals to us, he remembered every person's order, and he put exactly the right item in front of every single person. And the steaks were absolutely cooked to perfection. Doesn't that look good? You about ready to go eat? I'd like to, I'm telling you. And as he went around that table, he took a mental note of anything that he could possibly anticipate that we would need. And as the meal went on, he'd just come out and he would intuitively know exactly what each person needed. Our server, Wendell, acted as if we were the only customers that he had. He met every one of our needs individually. He truly wanted us to have the most incredible experience we could ever have as we ate those meals. It was literally poetry in motion. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. And Wendell wasn't just a waiter. He wasn't just a server. Wendell was a servant. For the last 3 weeks, we've been focused on step 9. We made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And 2 weeks ago, we learned how to effectively work this step, and we examined the first 2 types of amends that you can offer. If you have not watched that message, please go back to our YouTube page or on our Facebook page and watch it. It's called Peacekeeper. It's a powerful message on working those 2 types of amends. The first is a direct amends, which is where you take responsibility for your actions, and then you contact the person you'd like to reconcile with. Now, these are the amends that you make in person, and they oftentimes involve restitution. And remember, these are people with whom making contact will not harm them. So a direct amends, you're going to want to do all of this with your sponsor helping you. The second type of amends is an indirect amends, which is where you find ways to repair all the damage that you've done directly. Where you repair the damage, but you can't be done directly. And there might be some people on that list that you harmed who had passed away. So one of them, for me, was my mother. she had passed away, and I never was able to make all the amends to her. And so that's just a powerful way to do these. Or there are some people that contacting them, if you pick up and you call, let's say you were married, and you were just a horrible spouse, you may injure them by calling them up, right? Especially if they've moved on and they're married to somebody else. So you would do an indirect amends. In cases like these, that's what you do. You're going to make an indirect amends. So this brings us to the third type of amends, which is a living amends. A living amends is living a completely new lifestyle that reflects a transformed life. Now, if you haven't already done this, I want you to make sure that you've opened up your bulletins and that you're taking notes. Because here's the thing I want you to understand. If you don't do this step right, it has long-term ramifications. It does. If you don't make amends in the correct manner, I promise you, you're going to keep repeating the same bad mistakes. Because it's absolutely critical. So make sure that you take notes. When you do a living amends, the transformation, it is undeniable. And the commitment to the lifestyle is absolutely unbending. Living amends literally means to amend the way that you live. To amend is to change for the better or improve. So then, a living amends is changing the way you live for the better. It's a wonderful thing to watch somebody when they truly make a change. They were once a scallywag, and then the next thing you know, they're living for Jesus and they're doing things the right way. It's powerful. This type of an amends is really the most impactful because it's the beginning of a new life. Now, a great example in the Bible of someone who made a living amends, the first is the Apostle Paul, and I use him a lot. But I thought, I want to use somebody that's even more impactful, and that is the Apostle Matthew. He was one of Jesus' 12 disciples. Listen to this short account. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at his tax collector's booth. And he said, "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Matthew, he got up and he followed Jesus. Now, I want you to understand the magnitude of this. Matthew was also known as Levi. He was a tax collector. Now, what's a tax collector? In the days of Jesus, this was the most corrupt job that you could have. Tax collectors were hated, and they were regarded as sinners. Most were Jews who worked for the Romans, so this made them traitors. And tax collectors amassed, actually, many of them were very wealthy, big personal wealth. And here's how they did that. They demanded tax payments in excess of the Roman taxes. They didn't get paid by Rome. So they were on a commission basis. And so the bigger thief you are, the more money you have. This is the kind of person that Matthew was. And here's what I want you to understand. Matthew, the tax collector, he left everything. He got up, he walked away from all of his possessions and all of his wealth to become one of Jesus' disciples. He left his old life behind and he began living a completely new lifestyle. It reflected his transformed life. You see, Matthew made a living amends. And some of you here tonight or watching online might be wondering if there are any tips. So how do you do this? How does a person like Matthew walk away from everything? I mean, you got to assume Matthew probably had a pretty kosher, that's funny, Jewish, kosher life, right? And he did. So how does somebody do that? How do you walk away from your comfortable life? How do you get up from the tax collector's booth and move out of the life of sin and move into a new life? Well, I've got 5 tips for you tonight that'll help you amend the way that you live. So make sure that you're making notes as we go through this. The first tip on how to make a living amends instead of making apologies and then repeating those old behaviors is commit to living differently. Commit to living differently. This means making a commitment to never, ever go back to those old ways that originally harmed all of those people who were close to you. It also means stop reminding your loved ones of the past hurts by continuing to just act out and do the same things over and over again. When you come into a relationship with Jesus, here's the thing, you're not the same person. You're going to make changes that reflect the new you, not the old you. Colossians 3:5 puts it this way. It says, put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. This is not in my notes, but I want you to understand. What this passage is saying is these things that we attach ourselves to, our hurts, our hang-ups, and habits, they become idols in our lives. They become the thing in our lives. Sometimes it's a job. Sometimes it's our spouse, right? Sometimes it's those images on your phone. They become the thing. And so what we're to do is we are to put to death those things. And that means walking away from them. An evidence of a changed life starts with a commitment to living differently. Some of you need to do that tonight. You need to commit to it. You need to say, you know what? I am not going to look at those images ever again. I am not going to get a 12-pack on Fridays and then come to church on Sundays and pretend that I'm doing the deal. Ooh, I'm stepping on some people's toes. Right? I'm going to make a commitment. I'm going to live differently. Why? Because Jesus is more important. He's everything. Now, here's the second tip. Can you tell I'm a little passionate about this message tonight? It's a super important message. The second tip: fulfill an unfulfilled promise. When you were acting out in your addiction, you probably made promises that you never kept. Anybody ever do that? Every other day, right? Gosh, every hand should raise. Come on, guys, let's raise our hands. We all, right? Let's do the wave. Come on. Yeah, we all did it. You might have agreed to help a loved one to complete a project around the house. You maybe promised your younger sibling that you'd go on fishing trips. You may have promised that you'd pay back all that money that you had borrowed. You may have told people that you would stop behaving the way you did and turn over a new leaf, whatever that is. Now you need to fulfill that unfulfilled promise. A young man that I know shared with me how he had borrowed thousands of dollars from his aunt when he was in his addiction. And whenever he would get arrested, guess what he would do? He'd pick up that phone and he'd call his aunt. And she would, like every good codependent enabler, would come down and pay his bail. You know, eventually his aunt wised up. And she quit falling for his lies. And she told him, hey, I'm done. I am done giving you any money. And you know how he responded? Oh, he hugged her and said, oh, you're such a good aunt. No, he did not respond that way. He verbally assaulted her. He told her that he never wanted to see her again because she had let him down. And here's something that you need to know. He never did see her again because a couple years later, she died from a bout of cancer, with cancer. So he finally got sober several years later, and as he was doing his 8th and 9th steps, he remembered all of those broken promises and of paying back his aunt. And since she was no longer living, this is what his sponsor told him. He said he needed to fulfill these promises by making living amends. His first living amends was he never, ever borrowed money again from friends or family members. He was done doing that. That's for somebody in this room too. It's time for you to stop being the leech of the family. Then he made a donation to the American Cancer Society in memory of his aunt. Okay? Incidentally, he is now an ongoing supporter of cancer research. That's just something he now does. It's in his budget. He started attending church, and he gave his life to Jesus, and he began paying tithes, a full 10%, instead of just tipping God with a $5 bill. Today, this young man is one of the most generous people that I have ever met. He's also a very successful entrepreneur. And most importantly, his life is the reflection of the one he follows. That, my friends, is a living amends. That's what it looks like. The third tip: instead of apologizing, take action. If you're anything like me, you've said you were sorry over and over and over again, and your words mean absolutely nothing when you continue to hurt others and then apologize. I've done that. I'm going to tell you, it got to a point with my wife that she would say things like, "Shut up, I don't want to hear it again." Because guess what? It was just empty, you know. I call those word vomit. They mean nothing, right? And actions, as you know, you've heard it, they speak louder than words. And an apology that's demonstrated through actions, what it does is it promotes peace and harmony. Romans 14:19 says, "Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification." Now, I want to caution you that this can take some time to reestablish trust. Don't expect those you have hurt and that you've apologized to over and over and over again to suddenly buy into the new person that you say that you are. Only time will show that you've sincerely and genuinely changed. So for myself, for example, it literally took 2 years, you've heard me talk about this, for my wife to believe that what I said and what I was doing was real, because she just kept waiting for the shoe to drop, right? But today, my wife will tell you that most of the time, I'm a nice guy. Now, I am human, and there are times I say stupid things. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard it right here on this podium. But here's the thing. When you change and you make these living amends, there is absolutely no doubt that you really are sincere, that you have changed. And people can see that. No, they never have to go, "Gosh, I wonder if he's really doing the deal." They know you're doing the deal because you're evidence of a changed life. Here's the fourth tip. Invest time and effort into improving relationships. Invest time and effort. This goes along with the previous tip on making living amends. Good, healthy relationships, they require time and effort. Psalm 133:1 says, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity." Don't you love it when have you ever been in a real dysfunctional family? And then people get healthy, and dad gets sober, and mom gets help for being codependent, and the kids attend CR teens, and all of those things, and all of a sudden there's some harmony. It's amazing. You can you're happy to come home instead of going, "Oh gosh, I've got to come home." It's a beautiful thing. It's good and it's pleasant when we live in unity. And one of the few positives that have come out of this horrible, horrible COVID pandemic has been the amount of time that families spend together. And actually, I think it's kind of one of the things people are still doing a teeny bit. But according to an article in USA Today, For many families, the pandemic has meant more time for meals together, for conversations, for games, for movie nights and bike rides. You know, all those family things that people do. So for my wife and I, we spent a lot of time on the Indian motorcycle. Man, I'm telling you, 4 days a week, we were on that bike because we could for the first little bit. And we'd get on that bike in the evenings and go ride. It was just wonderful. And here's what people were saying. We loved the time together. Gail Bennett said, she who lives with her husband and 16-year-old son in New York's Greenwich Village. Before, life pulled us into a million different directions, but since the pandemic, we've been spending much more time together at meals, especially at breakfast and dinner. I was actually sharing this earlier today with my daughter. I believe one of the biggest issues that we have in modern America in 2021 is we are in too much of a hurry and we don't spend time with our families, with our kids. We don't sit down for breakfast and actually have conversations and put the phones away. We don't come home after dinner and just spend time together with the phones put away and really connect. And here's a tip that's not in here. Do you want to make a living amends? Start spending time with your family, with the people that, and you know what? Some of you live in a home right now, right? Some of you aren't here. You're away from your family. You know what? Spend time with that family. Connect with one another. Learn to love one another. Learn to live life in a different way. Put those stupid phones away. And I'm guilty of it too. So let's do that. All right, I'll get back on point. Over the years, you've damaged relationships. And in order to repair those relationships, you need to invest time and effort. And spending quality time with those you care about will go a long way towards making things right. And if you do this, you'll be on your way to making living amends. And here's the last tip. This is probably the most important. You need to stop being selfish and put others first. Before getting involved in your recovery, you were most likely very selfish. Any selfish folks in the house in the middle of the, yeah, come on now. Again, woo, let's do the wave. We all were. All right. It was all about you and your needs. And now that you're in recovery, things need to change. Part of making a living amends is changing from being inward focused to being outward focused. Philippians 2, 3, and 4 says, do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interest of others. Becoming selfless means putting others' needs before your own. And I have learned this firsthand, that I am better off putting others first. And you will be too. When you let someone go in front of you at the line in the bank or at the grocery store, guess what? You're putting others first. When you let another driver go in front of you as you approach the stoplight, you are putting others first. When you buy your mother-in-law a birthday gift instead of buying tickets to those overpriced Razorback games, you are putting others first. When you give in the offering on a Tuesday night, instead of buying another pack of smokes or, frankly, a pack of gum, you are putting others first. Here's the principle. When you put others first, you are becoming a selfless servant. One of the most effective ways of making living amends is to put others first and to serve others. And here at CR First NLR, we have lots of serving opportunities that'll help you to replace your selfishness with selflessness and making a commitment to serve here at CR will start you on the road to living out your new life in recovery and in Christ. So let me share the opportunities that you have here at First NLR to become a selfless servant. First off, we need people for setup. You'll notice that strapping young man is Micah. Yeah. Now, you want to be a selfless servant, be like Micah. The sun will come up and it'll go down, and Micah will be here on the Tuesday night to help me. Those are the things I can always count on. But he needs help. We desperately need setup. And what you do there is you distribute equipment and signs and tables, and you just set up rooms, and it's fun. I mean, it's not hard. And the more people we have, the more time you have to drink coffee. It's a beautiful thing. The next is the resource table. Okay, this is and that's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah. So you organize and you supervise the CR resource table. And you know what else? I'd like to get some former car salesmen or existing car salesmen. You know why? So you can say, hey, have you got the new you know what I mean? And you can draw them in and then talk to them about CR, right? About the Bible. And, hey, we've got this resource. Have you gotten the new devotional? It's really important. People need those things. So resource table. You can be a greeter. And do you see those wonderful people? The Lewises are there, and I can't see everybody, but isn't that great? I mean, look, you talk about selfless servants, right? They came here saying, what can we do to serve at CR First NLR? They didn't say, hey, how can you serve me? They said, how can we serve you and your people? Become a greeter. Greeting's great. If you're really an ornery person, that's not a good place for you. We don't like people going, welcome to Celebrate Recovery. But we want, if you could smile and just, you know what, we love you. The media team, you can aid in providing quality audio and graphic and lighting assistance during a large group. You know, we desperately need camera operators. And I'm telling you, this is not hard. You get back there and you watch the camera and you kind of move it. That's about it, right? It's awesome, though. We need you. We do. And that helps with our online big time. Solid Rock. Well, we don't really have Solid Rock, but we have the coffee bar, right? And do you love our coffee? Yeah. So get involved and help there. You know what? You can cut desserts, and you can make coffee, and you can just greet people, all right? Like Wendell, and be a servant right there. Just serve people and love them. We desperately need more shuttle drivers. We do. And that's Jason. You know, Jason, he does that. He makes burritos I'm kidding. He does 900 things a night too, okay? Because he's a selfless servant. We need shuttle drivers. There's a great shuttle driver team. We have ushers. And so ushers are important. That's D. We know D. And they monitor doors and distribute bulletin handouts. They take offerings. That's part of that team. We really, really need you there. Tear down. When the night is over, we need people to tear down. Okay, so that's like Micah putting the flag up. Could you help Micah put it back? That would be awesome. We could use you there. Here is another real desperate need we have. Childcare, celebration place, and CR teens. We need more leaders for CR teens. But because here's what I'm going to tell you about the teens, and I'm looking at you. The teens are going to have their own program. They're here soon, yes. And they'll be in here for worship for the first couple songs, and then they're going to whisk away over into another room, and they're going to have their own short message that's more applicable to their life, and we need volunteers for that. And so if you like working with, that was rude. I love you all. I really do, teens. But if you like dealing with teens, no, I'm kidding. I love teens, and so we need you. We really do. We also desperately, desperately need people in CR Online ministry. CR Online, okay? We want to form a whole community there of hosts and people who will help welcome people, prayer groups for them, people available if they need to call real quick because they're in a crisis situation. We need an online team. So people, if you're watching online, that's for you. You can serve from your home. So serve. Really, I do. I mean that. So somebody out there's got to hear that. And then share group leaders. So open share group leaders. You know what? How do you do that? Guess what? You do a step study, but you know what? We'll even use you for, you can be a timekeeper without finishing a step study. You just need to be a part of it. There's lots of opportunities. They're available on rotating, monthly or weekly basis. You choose where and when and how often you serve. Our most pressing needs are the children's and teens ministries, the online ministry, and shuttle drivers. I think that's the most pressing needs, I believe. And we only ask, by the way, that you serve once a month with our kids so that you can continue working your recovery. If you're working with our kids, we want you to make sure you only do it once a month. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. Serve as often as possible in some capacity. Not only will you be helping the ministry, but you'll be allowing God to transform you from the inside out. Becoming selfless isn't a one-day-a-month event. Frankly, it's a daily event. So start changing how you live by putting others first right here on Tuesday nights. It's a great place to start. And get in the habit of looking for opportunities to practice selflessness every day. There's an insert in your bulletin. I want you to pull that out because this is the audience participation portion of the program. As the worship team plays this next song, I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to ask God where He wants you to serve. And the ushers, what they'll do is they'll pick those up. We'll have them at the doors. And ushers, actually, you know what? Will you do me a favor? In 3 or 4 minutes, will you go up and down the rows and just, you guys can pass them down so we don't miss anybody. Start your journey tonight by becoming a selfless servant. Fill those out and hand those down, if you will. Let's worship.
I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. Give myself away so you can use me. Come on, sing it. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me, Lord. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can. Here I am. Here I am, here I stand, Lord, my life is in your hands, Lord, I'm longing to see your desire, so I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away, Lord. All I am to you, God. I give myself away so you can use me. Take my heart. Take my heart, take my life as a living sacrifice. give myself away. I give myself away. Oh, use us, Lord. I give myself away. Your glory, Lord. Oh, I give myself away so you can use me. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. My life is not. To you I belong. Oh, so I give myself. My life is not my own. Oh, my life is not my own. To you I belong. So I give myself to you. Oh, my life is not my own. To you I belong. So I give myself. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you. I give myself away. I give myself away, Lord, so you can use me, God. I give myself away.
Sing it to him. Yes, Lord, we give ourselves
Lord,
away.
I give myself away, so you
Can use me. I sense there are some of you here tonight, right now, that you are struggling with this whole amends process. In fact, I think there are some of you here tonight, you're just struggling. You're not sure if God could even change you and use you and use you in a serving capacity. And I want you to know that God, not only can He change you, He will change you. He's got an incredible plan for your life. And so here's something I want you to know. If you're struggling tonight, here's I'm going to ask you to be a little bold. Will you do me a favor? Will you raise your hand if you're struggling tonight? Okay. All right. And here's the other section of people that I think are struggling. You've been hurt deeply. There's several of you in this room right now. You have been hurt deeply, and you aren't sure how this living amends even works. How applicable it is to you. Sometimes, making a living amends is choosing to forgive the person or persons that have harmed you. If you're struggling to forgive someone, can you do me a favor? Can you raise your hand also? Yeah. All right. And then here's the last one. There are people in here tonight, you're a little bit like Matthew. You were just sitting there minding your own business tonight. And then Jesus showed up. And He said to you, He said, "Come, follow me." If you're ready to follow Jesus or recommit your life to Jesus, will you be real bold and raise your hand for me? Yes. Rooms going up all over here. Hands going up all over the room. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Every person that raised your hand, I'm going to ask you to get out of your comfort zone and come up here to the altar. I want to pray for you. Come on, let's be bold. If you're struggling, come on down. Come on. If you're struggling tonight, if you're struggling in any way, if you have unforgiveness in your heart, if you want to give your life to Jesus, come forward. And as as the worship team plays, I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to start this out. And then here's what I also want you to do. If you see somebody down here that you know, or you don't know, but you feel called to come here and put a hand on the back of a shoulder, will you do me a favor, come down here and pray for somebody as well? And Jesus, we give ourselves away to you tonight, Lord. You are holy, you're righteous, and you're good. And we thank you for what you're about to do tonight in our lives, Jesus. Thank you for each and every person here. God, we just ask that you move in a mighty way, Lord. Every person who is struggling here tonight, God, touch them in a mighty way. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name.